Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Well, welcome to another edition of Believe in the Bronx, the post-ALCS edition. Mike Stanton in Houston, Pete Caldera in New York, and it's over for the Yankees. And Mike, it kind of seemed over, right after Game 3, with the Yankees getting shut out, and then obviously the lack of offense was a huge point in this entire playoffs, really, for the Yankees. Even going back to the Cleveland series that went to full 5 games. But they score 5 runs against Houston in Game 4, and it's not enough because Nestor Cortez goes out early. They have to start the bullpen carousel early, and then Houston just found an answer for everything the Yankees put up there. Jameson Taillon, I think, said it great last night, and even Cole said it too. Is that every time, every roadblock we put up there, they had an answer for it. They were just the better team, and they proved it over a very fast 4-game series.
Well, it was good to see that the Yankees fought last night, and actually it ends up being the best game of the series. I think there were 3 lead changes, but the inevitable was, it was right there in front of us. I mean, coming back from 3-0, it only happened one time in all major sport history in a 7-game series, being down 3-0. So, it was there, but it was good to see that they fought a little bit. It's good to see that they got a lead. But unfortunately for Yankees fans, the better team won. I mean, I don't think that even the hardest core Yankee fans, I think that you'd have to say that, the Astros were a better team. They had the pitching was outstanding. They had superior defense. That was a problem for the Yankees in this series. And they had better health. I mean, other than Michael Brantley, the Astros were at complete full strength, and the Yankees were not. So, the better team won at this point, and, now it's on to the World Series.
Yeah. Plainly the Yankees have a Houston Astros problem. I mean, they couldn't overcome them in 17 and 19.
Everybody's got someone.
Yeah. There were other factors involved, and we could, go chapter and verse on that. And, but, right now in 2022, you take Carlos Correa off this Astros team. You take Garrett Cole off this Astros team from the team that went to the World Series in 2019.
George Springer.
And take George Springer off this team. And the Yankees still can't find an answer. And yes, they were a compromised team, but at some point you have to overcome all these other obstacles that are in your way, whether it's losing players to free agency, whether it's losing players to injury. The Yankees still cannot solve the Houston Astros, and the Astros once again proved that they're the best team in the American League, hands down.
Yeah, and listen, like I said just a second ago, everybody has someone you struggle against. A lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with how good you are, or in some cases, how bad the other team is. They just play better baseball against you. And for some reason, and it does seem like on occasion, it does go from one year to the next. And, the Astros have just played the Yankees very, very tough over the years. And, this was just another one of those situations that, the Astros just had too many horses in the stable. They had an answer for everything that the Yankees tried to do. And there's really no lineup that is designed to play from behind. And that was basically what the Yankees did all series. Like I said, this past game, Game 4, there were 3 lead changes, but the Yankees weren't in the lead very much. It went back and forth. But if you look at the whole series, they were playing from behind almost every inning. I think the first inning of the first game, they had a lead through the top of the first inning, but then the Astros came back in the bottom. And so it was just one of those things. For every punch that the Yankees were able to throw, the Astros were able to counter punch and even punch their own way out of it. So at this point, yes, I think the better team did win. And, this is one of those things. It's back to the drawing board for the Yankees.
Yeah, and there could be potentially many changes on this club. And, the one that is the most intriguing starts with Aaron Judge. Now, he plays it very close to the vest. He does not give anything away.
Like always.
Yes, he's going to enter free agency like he enters the batter's box. Measured, patient approach.
Right.
I think that you know, you talk to a lot of different people about, you think he's going to stay, you think he's going to go, where do you think he's leaning? You get all sorts of opinions from people who should, who have very good opinions on these things and know him pretty well. No one seems to have a really good bead on what could potentially happen. What I think is going to drive this thing, Mike, is what are the San Francisco Giants going to do if they make him an offer? Now, and the Yankees will be compelled to match this or not.
Right.
What happens there? And do we have the Los Angeles Dodgers in play, or even the Angels in play, or the New York Mets in play, or the Boston Red Sox in play? And where does he come down on if all bids are equal? Does his loyalty to the Yankees and his what he has said before about wanting to be a forever Yankee,
right.
How much of that factors in with everything else that went on in this postseason? This guy hit 62 home runs. He's the American League MVP. He was hearing boos in his own ballpark, going 1 for 16 in the ALCS. Yeah. Does that even factor in?
No, I don't think it does. I mean, he knows, he's been in New York for long enough. He knows that there's high expectations when it comes to the Yankees, and that fan base, they support that team as good as any other team in any sport. But you're also going to hear from it when things aren't going well. I think the boos against Aaron Judge was more just overall frustration, not actually targeted at just Aaron Judge. I think that was really for the whole team. And being in that situation myself, you don't take it personally. You can't, because what is fan short for? It's short for fanatic, and that's not always a logical way to react to situations. There's a lot of emotions, and the fan base was, as was the team, frustrated with how they were playing baseball. I still think the highest odds, and I think they are very, very high, that he goes back to New York. I know San Francisco very well may be in the hunt. San Francisco loves to have, some kind of marquee type player, which they don't really have right now. I understand the other teams you mentioned, the Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers are really involved. They have so much money on their books to start off with. I have a tough time. You want to try something a little different? Try to picture Aaron Judge in a Red Sox uniform. That just, in my mind, that it just doesn't even work.
Right.
Maybe the Mets will knock on the door, kick the tires a little bit, but I really think if there's ever a free agent that, for both the organization and the player, if it was a kind of a match made in heaven, it's Aaron Judge and the Yankees. I really think that just makes sense for both sides.
Yeah. And, you should think, you would anticipate that the Yankees should have unlimited resources to keep this guy and not be constrained by a budget. The New York Mets in this town have blown past those luxury tax thresholds.
Right.
The Dodgers obviously have a high payroll. The Giants have a lot of money coming off the books to spend now.
Mm-hmm.
But for what he means to the lineup, in that room, for the franchise, the fans, all the 99s you see, in the
mm-hmm.
ballpark,
right.
the jerseys, everything. Right. As you said, you would anticipate that this is a perfect fit right here. And why wouldn't they go the extra mile to make it happen? You go back to the bet he made on himself back in late March, rejecting the $30.5 million annual contract for the next 7 years, which would have started in 2023. Judge's next contract is going to start with a 3 at minimum. How committed are the Yankees to paying that money to a guy who will be 31 next year, and plays? We haven't seen a player who's 6'7", 285, play at this level into his late 30s. There's a lot of factors involved in
There are.
why it's a good investment, why it's a bad investment, why you should just commit to it because of the player and what he means to your franchise right now. There's a lot of thought process on both sides that has to play out here.
Well, I think the other side of it is how many teams out there are really going to have the financial wherewithal and be willing to give a relatively long-term contract to a guy like Aaron Judge. Yes, the last 2 seasons, he's done an outstanding job of showing that he can be healthy, he can be productive when he's on the field, and he stayed on the field. So I think, obviously the value has gone way, way up over the last 2 seasons. But yeah, you're right. He's 31 years old. I mean, we just don't see very many contracts that get into the late 30s for the player that they're still productive players, especially for a guy that is the size of Aaron Judge. So I look at it and go, okay, you say all that all makes sense. So who are the teams? I mean, there's only 2 or 3 teams that would be able to put forth a financial wherewithal, has the financial wherewithal to put forth a contract in order to get him. So, and the number one team, well, it's the Yankees. So it's just one of those things. He's also been really the perfect Yankee. I mean, he has been the model citizen. He's always in front of the camera. He always says the right thing. He always takes up for the organization. He loves the city of New York. He's never been in trouble. You never see him on the back page of the tabloids or anything like that. So, it's one of those situations that he has really been the perfect prototypical Yankee. And so this is what, George used to do it years ago when George Steinbrenner was still alive, that he would let his players go to free agency. And people would tell him all the time, listen, you're costing yourself money, sign them to the extension early. But he didn't like to do that. He did it to Pettit. He did it to Bernie. He did it to Jeter. He did it to the captain. I mean, that's kind of just how they do it, is want to make sure that the player is healthy by the end of the year. Well, yeah, by not upping the ante back in March, they probably cost them quite a bit more money.
Yeah. Bernie Williams too. That almost lost him to the Red Sox. But the intrigue here. Well, but first of all, alluding to what you said, he is Judge is respected in that clubhouse and
right,
and really a beloved figure when it comes to putting the team first, and that part of Judge is genuine. His teammates know that he's invested in them, cares for them, made them part of the whole 60 chase to 62. But the real intrigue here is that the team that is going to potentially be the number one alternate target here, the San Francisco Giants. Judge grew up a Giants fan. He's from Northern California. Mm-hmm. He has very deep roots in that area.
Yeah.
Where does that tug play in? And could that, if all things are equal, if all bids are equal, does the lure of going home appeal to him more than being a forever Yankee?
I would say no, it does not. I would actually think if everything is equal, I think he stays a Yankee. Now I'm not saying that the Giants would have to overbid, but what I really would think is, let's say, the Yankee front office decides they don't want to go to 8 years. Let's say that's the number. And the Giants are willing to go to 8. Now that might be the situation that, okay, yes, I'm going home, everything you just mentioned, but I'm also getting the contract on top. But if if it's dollar for dollar, year for year, I think he stays a Yankee. I think he likes the idea. I don't think that was just lip service, him saying that he wants to stay a Yankee his whole career. I think this is something he really feels that way. And, he is the premier player in the premier organization in all of Major League Baseball. So I think that, if it's apples to apples, I think he stays a Yankee.
And it's not just Judge. There are other potential free agents on this club. Jameson Taillon is moving into free agency. The Yankees, their rotation. You could argue that with Cole, with Cortez, with Frankie Montas, with Severino that they might give that fifth slot to potentially a younger pitcher in their organization and say goodbye to Tyon, who was a very effective pitcher for them all year.
Yes.
Anthony Rizzo has an opt-out that he can exercise, $16 million remaining in 2023. I would think that potentially he could turn that into a contract extension with the Yankees because he likes playing here. They like having him here. He does a lot for their defense as well as the production, despite hitting in the 220s this year. And the fact that he's kind of the glue of that infield.
Yeah.
You'd hate to lose a guy like Rizzo.
Well, the key to Rizzo and the 220 batting average is you got to remember what the rule changes are next year. They're outlawing the shift.
Yeah.
So his batting average is absolutely going to go up. Okay.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. Just about every left-handed hitter, their batting average is going to go up. So that's something you have to keep in mind. The thing is with Rizzo, if he can turn it into, get a couple years of an extension or turn it into a 3-year deal, that's great. The thing with Jameson Taillon, I look at him and I go, okay, he's not really going to be all that expensive. So you have to decide whether you'd like to go with the young guy or would you rather go with more of a veteran guy that is going to be, well, in Major League Baseball terms, he's going to be at least a reasonable price. This isn't going to be a guy that's looking for, $28 to $30 million a year, or else, he's going to be sitting at home. But, right. So if the prices, it may just determine on not just what they want to do, but also what the price of Jameson Taillon is. Because I do think that Brian Cashman would like to get him back because it's a true veteran presence that pitched well for you. And that, you know what you're going to get with a young guy, even with high quality stuff. You don't really know what you're going to get. And listen, you're going to need them anyways. Nobody goes through the whole season with 5, 6, even 7 starters. Everybody has to be extended.
Right. There are other changes potentially coming to this Yankees infield. Gleyber Torres has a year left of control, but I could see Cashman moving him, and putting him. He was in trade discussions up to the trade deadline this year. I could see them moving on from Torres if they can get value for him.
Yeah.
Something that they want. Shortstop will belong to Oswald Peraza on opening day next year, the rookie that they're very impressed with. And at some point in 2023, their best prospect, Anthony Volpe, will probably be in the Bronx. I don't think opening day necessarily, but
yeah,
they've got an infield spot for him. And perhaps that's third base. Josh Donaldson, who had just a dreadful postseason, still has one guaranteed year left at $25 million. And it's going to be a hard contract to move, but perhaps there's another veteran salary wash that the Yankees can do, because I don't think the fan base wants to see Josh Donaldson as their opening day third baseman next year. And you got to find a spot for DJ LeMahieu too, who's maybe having a off-season foot surgery. He spoke about that after the game, Mike, that this is a guy that was compromised since the early part of August, who has a fractured sesamoid bone in his right big toe, ligament damage in the second toe, and he could be headed for off-season surgery. But if he's ready to go by opening day, you got to find a spot for him too.
Well, and I think you really need him just simply because you need some more contact, and this is a former batting champion. This is a guy that really knows how to put the bat on the ball. Another hitter that, with the style of hitter he is still the shift. Not having the shift will absolutely help him, just like every other hitter in Major League Baseball. Yeah. So, there's some questions that Brian Cashman and company, they're going to have to answer. There's a couple different avenues that they can take here. So they're going to have to really kind of sit down and try and figure out exactly how they want to go about it. It starts with Judge, but like you said, there are many other questions that have to be answered moving forward into free agency.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting winter, and unfortunately for the Yankees, they're plunged into it right now.
A little earlier than they wanted, that's for sure.
Watching the Phillies and the Astros play in the World Series. Mike, just wonder if there's anything, any other final thoughts you had about the Yankees postseason and where they're going from here.
Well, I thought that they actually, and Yankee fans probably don't want to hear this. I actually thought that with everything that was going on in New York, all the injuries, the lack of offense, I thought they battled pretty well. I thought Dusty Baker, I think it was after game 3, when somebody talked about the dominance that the Astros have had over the Yankees. And he was like, well, I don't see dominance. Every game other than game 3 was a close game. The Yankees were in it. And that's really how this offense was put together. Keep us close. And hopefully at the end of the ball game, somebody can drive one out of the ballpark and we score some runs. They weren't able to do that because the Astros pitching was so good. But I think that they, even though there was a lot of frustration, they still made it, well into the playoffs, into the league championship series. So I know it's World Series or bust, but you're talking about a team that hasn't been there and hasn't done that for 12 years, that being winning a World Series. So, I know the fan base is frustrated, but it's back to the drawing board to put a team on the field for the 2023 season.
Right, but there are still some the questions on the management side now. General Manager Brian Cashman, his contract is up, but the working relationship he has with Hal Steinbrenner. Mid-season, Cashman said that his desire was to remain in the position he has, that he still is energized and excited about putting a roster together. Not the roster that Yankees fans probably wanted to see, and and all the moves that Cashman made, they were very proactive at the trade deadline, but
yes.
Through injury and some ineffectiveness, pretty much every one of those moves did not work out the way they envisioned. From Benintendi and his hamate injury on down to Frankie Montas and his shoulder issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's frankly a lot of question about Aaron Boone. Now, he did not have a great postseason managerial-wise. The decisions that he made in game, especially taking Garrett Cole out of game 3 as early as he did, and putting in Lou Trevino instead of one of his higher leverage relievers in that spot. And even Boone, joined the second guessing of that and said that was a reasonable suggestion that Holmes or Peralta or Loaizaga should have been in that spot. If that's where you say this is the season's hinging right here on quelling this rally, and you didn't think Cole could get out of it, you got to put a higher leverage reliever in at that point.
And I thought in that particular situation, one of the reasons why I wasn't a big fan, you took Cole out early, but also the Astros are very familiar with Lou Trevino. He spent 4.5 years in Oakland. Right. You're playing him 19 times. The Astros have seen him at his best. They've seen him at his worst, but there were no secrets there. That was a very familiar arm that the Astros probably weren't upset seeing come in the game at that point.
Yeah. So as we sit here right now, I mean, you would just based on track record, you'd anticipate Cashman would be back in his role as GM, but I don't think you can say with any exact certainty that Boone will be back. And even though he just signed an extension last year, Cashman and Steinbrenner have touted Boone's work in the clubhouse and keeping the club together, and he did do a good job of that when things, injuries mounted and things were going off the rails, in early August, but ultimately didn't get the club to where they wanted to be, and the criticism of his in-game decisions, especially in the ALCS, will linger for a while.
There's no doubt. But the old saying that managers are hired to be fired. Is this Aaron Boone's fault? Well, no, because you can't win without scoring, and he wasn't the one that put this roster together. But I don't know which way you go, and I don't think there's really a right answer. I think Boone has done, for the most part, a pretty good job there in New York. There's always going to be questions about moves you make. That's the nature of the business. But I think it could go either way. And I don't, even though we like to point fingers, especially as a fanatical fan, the manager has to go. The manager doesn't really have that much to do with it. What has Boone always done? He's always stood up for the player. He's always stood up for the organization. He always has the right thing to say. He's always positive. And it's really about the relationship he builds with the players. That's the key. Yes, he deals with the media the way he does. Everybody's got their own style. He deals with the front office. But what you really have to look at is, what is the relationship to the players? Do the players listen to him? Do the players respect him? And if they do, then maybe he stays. We'll just have to wait and see. I think Brian stays if Brian wants to stay, and it sounds like he does. But you also have to remember all the moves we like there to be. We as humans like things to be simple. We like there to be one answer to a question. We like to be, if there's a problem, there's one person we can blame. In reality, that's not the case. These baseball organizations now, they are run by multiple people. Yes, there's one person at the top, but the information that comes into these decisions, they're multifaceted. It comes from everywhere. So, yeah, you have somebody standing in front of the podium, and that's the person that's got to take the beating. But it's not always just that person's decision.
Yeah. And on the flip side of this series and this season, you saw what a magnificent job Dusty Baker did, not only stepping into a very difficult situation with all the controversy swirling around the Astros, but to take them to another World Series and to manage that club the way he did.
Yeah.
Outstanding job by Dusty Baker, who belongs in the Hall of Fame for his.
And he will be. He will be. We'll have to see. Maybe here in another week or so, he'll actually have his first World Series championship, and that'll kind of solidify everything. Because right now he's, the winningest manager without. There's a lot of withouts, and those withouts are the World Series. Everything else he's done, but the without with the World Series championship is pretty big. So. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the World Series. I think the Phillies are a very dangerous team. I think that they do I think the Astros still are the better team, but I'll tell you, the Phillies are hot right now, and they got two big arms at the top of their rotation that can shut you out.
Yeah. And talk about the Yankees connections. Phillies fired Joe Girardi in midseason.
Yeah.
Rob Thompson, who spent over 20 years with the Yankees organization, who you know very well.
Very well, yes.
Gets his first managerial job and is taking this club to the World Series. Amazing job by Rob Thompson, one of the real good guys in the game too. Mike, we'll wrap it up here. But we'd like to tell everybody that we will continue the Believe in the Bronx podcast all off season. We'll be here to talk about Judge and Boone and everything that's going on with the Yankees and where the player movements will go, trades, free agents, and all that jazz. And it's going to be interesting and fun off season, Mike.
Yeah, it is. It is. And, it was an interesting series. I like the way that the Yankees fought back even in Game 4. But the better team did win. Now it's on to 2023 for the Yankees, and we'll have to wait and see, how all this is going to work out. It'll be an interesting offseason.
Yep. We hope you'll follow us at Believe in the Bronx, and that'll do it for our post ALCS edition.